box contains my family's history. And because of this box, I know my father's mother baked biscuits on Sundays. I know my mother's mother made orange marmalade and damson plum preserves to spread on toast, even during the Great Depression when sugar was precious. I know my mother loved chocolate meringue pie, and her recipe for it is smudged with cocoa from so much repeated use. I know she stuffed summer tomatoes with chicken salad, baked butternut squash with onions, and made chocolate toffee at Christmas. In this recipe box, there are 4 sets of handwriting, and I can tell which writing belongs to which person. And the cards help me remember the people behind them. An anthropologist would say that my family recipes reveal education, location, soil, scarcity, assimilation, access, religion, and more. Now imagine if you could flip through a recipe box. Yours, mine, anyone's in this audience. And the careful cursive writing would tell you when the recipe was first made. The smudges would reveal family favorites. The pastries would share what holidays were celebrated. And the ingredients would say where someone lived and what was available. Wouldn't that be an amazing, almost psychic way to connect with someone you didn't know and learn about other people? Well, I had one of those connections last summer when a woman I hadn't seen in many years told me about a strawberry shortcake her mother used to bake in Arkansas. She said she didn't have the recipe, and she'd tried to recreate it many times but failed. I asked where in Arkansas did her mother live, and she said on a farm during the Depression. And she told me the cake was baked in a square pan, and the texture was soft, spongy, and wonderful. I guessed her mother might have baked a hot milk sponge cake, because in the 1930s, rural cooks didn't have a lot of ingredients, and everything you needed for that cake was either in the pantry or found right on the farm. And when strawberries came into season, you would sweeten them with a little sugar and spoon them over that cake. She asked where she'd find such a recipe, and I said everywhere. It was a beloved cake before cakes got complicated. Her mother probably found it on the back of the baking powder tin. Later that night, she sent me an email. It was the cake. For my friend, this recipe became more than instructions. It became a connection to her mother, a farm in Arkansas, and her family history. Who would imagine that something as simple as a strawberry shortcake could open such a window? But even the simplest recipe has the power to connect us and help us better understand other people. But over time, things have gotten complicated and connections have been lost. We can't even agree on how to make cornbread, whether it should be yellow, white, sweet, or savory. But imagine if hungry people of all different races, religions, and socioeconomic backgrounds got together to share cornbread. Would it really matter if the cornbread was sweet, savory, yellow, or white, as long as it was hot and dripping with butter? As a career journalist, I have worked for newspapers and magazines for decades, and I have written best-selling cookbooks. My 16th cookbook, Baking in the American South, was published in September 2024. Here I explored not only my Southern baking story, but those of others. I learned how during the Civil Rights era, Chef Leah Chase and her husband Dookie placed fried chicken and gumbo on tables in the upstairs of their New Orleans restaurant to feed black and white patrons in a segregated Jim Crow South. Food has been a symbol of reconciliation and union. But in the 1960s, it was illegal for white and black people to sit together and eat. So discreetly, Leah Chase ushered Martin Luther King Jr. and white clergymen upstairs for shared meals and conversation. She told me, if you can eat with someone, you can learn from them. And when you learn from someone, you can make big changes. I also learned how Southern Jewish recipes have been repeated on holidays to preserve religious traditions in a rural South that made worship difficult. Not only were newcomers and immigrants considered outsiders, but the nearest synagogue might be 200 or more miles away. So poppy seeds in a pound cake, dark chocolate in a Passover cake roll, jam cake on Rosh Hashanah. These were subtle ways that Jewish recipes baked up remembrance and resiliency. During the Holocaust, prisoners in German concentration camps wrote down family recipes on scraps of paper. Years later, the survivors would describe the experience as therapeutic. In the face of death, they wanted their recipes to live on. I also learned about Amy Dawson, a farmer in Lost Creek, West Virginia, who stumbled upon an intriguing vinegar pie. It was an old newspaper clipping, yellow with time, and stuffed into a recipe box. And at first it didn't sound appealing. But once she made the pie, she realized that the combination of apple cider vinegar and nutmeg in the filling mimicked lemon pie and was quite good. Her Appalachian ancestors wouldn't have had expensive lemons, and they wouldn't have owned cookbooks, but they would have had access to apples. Living off the beaten track, they relied on the free recipes that the newspaper provided. They sought fellowship in a weekly recipe exchange with cooks like themselves. If you taste vinegar pie, you taste Appalachia. You taste both sweet and sour, fortitude and hardship. You taste the ability to grow apples, turn them into vinegar, and then into a wonderful pie. Family recipes are our heirlooms. They are artifacts of our past. They are as meaningful as a grandfather's watch or a mother's wedding photo. They also invite us into the histories of others. And in a world that feels increasingly divided, opening a recipe box not only encourages us to better understand ourselves, but to have empathy for others through food. It shows us that we have more in common with our neighbors than we might think. Sharing food and recipes, even with people unlike us or people who don't agree with us, isn't just diplomatic, it's transformative. So you may say, how do we start? Write down your recipes. Make them again and again. Share them. Because old family recipes with cursive writing, smudges, stains, and tastes of yesterday are our delicious history, but they're also our future. So what are we waiting on? Let's share some recipes and unlock the stories behind them. Let's learn, change, and grow. Thank you.